The College Board has announced the new digital SAT will launch on March 9th. We're joined by Priscilla Rodriguez with the College Board. Priscilla, how will this SAT be different?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. Yes, the new digital SAT has some exciting changes baked into it based on feedback we've gotten from students and teachers over the years. So I'd love to just share a few of those. The first one, and I think the one that students are most excited about, is that the digital SAT is significantly shorter than the paper SAT, 2 hours instead of three. And even with it being an hour shorter, students actually have more time per question on the digital SAT than they did on paper. So what students who've taken it have told us is that they feel less rushed during the test and less exhausted at the end of it. They leave the testing room feeling more confident that they were able to show their best work in reading, writing, and math. Another change is in the reading and writing section, which is right now with the paper SAT. The reading and writing section is made up of 9 long reading passages, and each of those passages has a set of questions tied to it. Students were telling us that was putting a lot of pressure on each reading passage, right? If they didn't understand it or didn't connect with it, they were risking, 5 to 10 questions. We've decided to break that up with the digital SAT. Each question in the reading and writing section has a single, still interesting and complex reading passage, but a single question tied to it. If students don't connect with that or don't understand it, they can flag it for later, move on to the next one without, again, risking, multiple questions on that.
Does that mean the test is easier? Do you expect that scores across the board will get higher?
So the digital SAT assesses the same core reading, writing, and math skills that the paper SAT has assessed. And that research shows are connected to success in college and career. So what it's assessing hasn't changed, just some of the how. And we've been researching this and piloting it for a few years now. We don't think there are going to be changes to scores just because of the changes we've made. We do think, though, or do hear directly from students that they certainly feel that they are better able to show their best work. And I think that's really important, right? For a test that is this kind of important in the lives of students, that they know going in that it is a test that is kind of stripped away the things that made the paper one a bit stressful and can really focus on just those core reading, writing, and math skills.
So from the data you have so far, the average score hasn't increased for reading, writing, or math?
It's early days for us, but no, we don't have an indication that that's happening in any real way.
And with the digital SAT, how do you prevent cheating when students have access to the internet?
It's a great question. It's actually is a great leap forward for us in terms of security, right? With the paper SAT, we were printing and shipping tens, if not hundreds of thousands of test books around the country and the world. And in this case, students are going to have their test obviously on the device that they are getting ready to test on, but it's encrypted, right? It's like really locked for them until they are given kind of a password that they need to type in to unlock the test. And while they're testing in the Blue Book student testing app, their device, whether it's a laptop or a tablet, is otherwise on complete kind of shutdown mode. They cannot open or toggle to another window. No chats can come in. Really, the only application that can be running is the Blue Book student testing app. That way we know that the only thing students can be doing is doing the work on the test questions themselves.
And we all know technology fails sometimes. What happens if there are technical difficulties, whether it be with the test, whether there's Wi-Fi troubles? What failsafes are put in place?
It's a great question. I appreciate it. So a few things. One, we launched the digital SAT internationally a year ago now, actually. So in 180 countries, the digital SAT is the SAT already, and over 300,000 students have taken it. We have seen that as we've worked with schools and students to get ready and make sure they're clear on what they need to do and what they need to check before they get there, the incidence of tech issues has been really, really low. But you're right? It can happen. And so what we do is a few things. One, every school has a staff member who's been trained by us on how to kind of tackle or troubleshoot the common tech issues. And that generally takes care of it, right? In some cases, students are just starting a few minutes behind their peers, which is fine, again, because everyone's machine is kind of in that lockdown mode. And there's really, nothing that they can be looking at or doing. And then we also have tech support available. So schools can escalate and call to us. We have a team of trained people who are prepared to kind of make sure they know what's going on and help them get that student started and on their way.
And what accommodation options are there for students who may have an IEP or a disability?
Another great question. Thank you for that. So our commitment to making sure we're serving all students with the SAT, including the full range of accommodations, remains. So that's not changing at all. What has changed, and I think in many cases for the better, is that some accommodations have changed in kind of how we can serve them on digital. So I'll give you an example. With a paper test, if a student's accommodation needed that test to be read out loud to them, that required a human to read the test out loud to them. Now, and this is very standard technology, you can do text to speech, right? So students do that with the rest of their coursework and tests. So again, we're serving all the same accommodations that we always have. That commitment is unwavering. How we're able to do it is actually quite improved in many ways.
And will this change at all the process of how quickly students get their scores back now that, like you said, you don't have to ship and mail hundreds and thousands of pieces of paper?
Yes, it will. So we are excited that already in this first kind of season of digital testing, we're going to be able to deliver scores a bit faster. For students who take it on a weekend, right, going to their high school or a local high school on a weekend morning, scores are going to come back 13 days after test day. It's a little faster than we have historically done. But importantly, for students who are taking it through our big SAT school day program, right? That's the program where students take it, as the name suggests, on a school day in their school building, generally paid for by their state, district, or school. Those scores are coming back much faster than we used to be able to deliver for SAT school day. And we're really excited about that, right? Because that gets this helpful information in the hands of students, parents, and their teachers in a more timely way so they can start having those important conversations about planning for life after high school.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us and answering some of those questions for parents.